Recap. Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao, Chapter 897, Chapter. The storyteller's voice lowered, as though recounting a legend whispered across the ages of cultivation. Outside the towering White Star Tower, the air itself seemed to tremble with anticipation. Moments earlier, Cheng Haofei had stepped out from within its ancient gates. Though a faint trace of disappointment lingered deep in his heart, his posture remained proud and steady. In truth, his performance had already surpassed the expectations of countless cultivators. During the trial inside the tower, he had managed to push through the first 2 stages of the 7th level, a feat few in this empire could even dream of accomplishing. Only when facing the final test, the 10 strikes from the terrifying Shu Ran, had he been forced to concede defeat. But to Cheng Haofei, that result did not represent failure. Rather, it revealed the vast horizon still waiting before him. His talent had already been proven. His foundation had already been acknowledged. As long as he continued to temper himself in battle or uncovered a powerful secret technique, his combat strength would surely surge forward like a roaring river breaking through a canyon. In his mind, the path ahead was brilliant. And so, with a confident smile tugging at the corner of his lips, Cheng Haofei stepped forward from the tower. In his imagination, the moment should have been glorious. He expected the crowd to erupt like crashing waves of applause. He imagined the envy of countless male cultivators and the admiring gazes of countless young women. After all, a genius who could reach the 7th level of the White Star Tower was destined to be the center of attention. But reality was strangely different. The plaza was quiet. Not silent, but distracted. Almost every single person present was staring upward toward the White Star Tower. It was as though no one had even noticed that a great genius had just emerged. Cheng Haofei froze. The confident expression on his face stiffened. "What the hell is going on here?" he muttered inwardly. A muscle twitched violently at the corner of his cheek. This situation had never once crossed his mind. In fact, the shock nearly made him lose his balance, and he staggered forward several steps before catching himself. Quickly regaining his composure, he forced himself to appear calm and indifferent as he slowly walked away from the tower's entrance. Yet, inwardly, he was burning with curiosity. Subtly, he pricked up his ears, carefully listening to the surrounding discussions. And soon, the truth reached him. Inside the White Star Tower, there were still 2 people remaining. Not only that, those 2 mysterious participants had already passed through the first 6 levels. Cheng Haofei's pupils contracted sharply. What? Aside from Ma Xing, there were actually 2 other individuals who could stand on equal footing with him. In that instant, the ground beneath Cheng Haofei's confidence cracked. If those 2 were truly capable of such achievements, then his position might not even remain second place. In the worst case, he could even fall out of the top 3 entirely. Damn it! A surge of frustration flooded his mind. Had he known earlier that this examination would attract so many monsters, he would have simply waited another 5 years before participating. Surely, there couldn't be this many heaven-defying geniuses appearing in the same generation. But now, there was no turning back. All he could do was silently hope that the remaining 2 participants inside the tower were not quite as extraordinary as he feared. Even if he could not claim first place, at least he might still hold firmly onto second. While the crowd remained focused on the tower, the higher authorities of the Northern Institution had already summoned Cheng Haofei away. After all, regardless of the final rankings, he was undeniably a prodigious talent. The Academy's leaders were not fools. They naturally wanted to become acquainted with such a genius as soon as possible. If they failed to establish a relationship now, what if Cheng Haofei chose to withdraw and instead enroll in the Eastern Institution 5 years later? If that happened, the enraged head of the Northern Institution would likely chop them all into pieces. Thus, they quickly escorted Cheng Haofei away for a private meeting. Meanwhile, time continued to pass. Then suddenly, a burst of light erupted from the 7th level of the White Star Tower. The entire plaza froze. This time, the crowd did not merely gasp, they went numb with shock. Passing the 7th level, what did that mean? It meant the birth of a 3-star genius. Such a level of talent stood on equal footing with Ma Xing himself. Everyone knew that Ma Xing's potential had reached the 3-star level largely because he possessed the legendary king's qi. But now, someone else had achieved the same potential purely through raw talent. And unlike king's qi, which only certain rare individuals were born with, cultivation of such power could eventually be learned. So the question spread like wildfire through the crowd. Who was it? Who had reached such an unbelievable level? The suspense did not last long. Soon the tower's great doors opened once again. From within stepped a young woman clad in flowing white robes. Her long black hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall of midnight silk. Her appearance was elegant and refined, almost as though a celestial fairy had descended from the heavens. "Big Sister Yun." Li Weiwei rushed forward excitedly. Her voice rang with admiration. "Congratulations, Big Sister Yun. You passed the 7th level of the tower. In the future, you'll definitely ascend to the immortal stage as a 3-star genius." Many others nodded in agreement. After all, the timing made it obvious. The 7th level had illuminated, and shortly afterward, Ji Yun'er had emerged. Clearly, she must have conquered the 7th level before being defeated on the 8th. Such an achievement was already beyond extraordinary. In an immense empire like the Chaotic Star's majestic empire, a genius capable of reaching the 7th level might appear only once in several thousand years. Yet to everyone's shock, Ji Yun'er's expression changed, her brows furrowed slightly. "I did not pass the 7th level," she said calmly. "I lost during the 3rd stage." The plaza fell silent. "What?" Li Weiwei's eyes widened. "What?" Others echoed in disbelief. "It wasn't Ji Yun'er?" How could that possibly be? Li Weiwei grabbed her own head in frustration, stomping her foot repeatedly on the ground. "This is impossible! No, I refuse to believe it!" Her voice grew louder with every word. "That blockhead? It really was him. Arg! I want to stomp him into the ground!" Of course, the possibility had briefly crossed her mind earlier. For a fleeting moment she had wondered whether Ling Han might be the one who passed the 7th level, but that thought had quickly been dismissed. After all, how could he possibly be compared to Ji Yun'er? Yet now the truth had revealed itself. Ji Yun'er had personally admitted she was not the one, which meant there was only one person left, Ling Han, a cultivator from the lower realm. In the eyes of countless immortal realm elites, such individuals were nothing more than insignificant ants. And yet, Li Weiwei finally understood. How could an emperor who shattered the heavens and ascended into the immortal realm be simple? Seeing the dramatic change in Li Weiwei's expression, Ji Yun'er quickly grasped the situation. "Weiwei, do you know who this person is?" she asked. Li Weiwei nodded slowly. "He's a cultivator from a small world," she said. "He arrived in the immortal realm about 10 days ago." Ji Yun'er fell silent. A cultivator from a small world? The very idea seemed absurd. How could the cultivation environment of a small world compare to the immortal realm? The resources there were scarce. The techniques were inferior. The elites were few. Compared to the immortal realm, such places were nothing more than barren wastelands. And yet, someone from such a place had just accomplished the impossible. He had passed the 7th level of the White Star Tower. Such talent would place him easily among the top 10 prodigies within the entire Scarlet Heaven Academy. Meanwhile, the higher authorities of the Northern Institution were practically trembling with excitement. This examination had brought them unprecedented fortune. 3 extraordinary geniuses had appeared. Ji Yun'er possessed the potential to become a 2-star genius. 3 dark horses had also emerged, each displaying the potential of at least 2-star talent. Among them, one possessed King's Key, another had demonstrated the potential of becoming a 3-star genius. The Northern Institution was destined to flourish. But even this was not yet the climax. Moments later, the 8th level of the White Star Tower suddenly burst into light. The plaza erupted. My heavens! Am I seeing things? Did the moon suddenly grow brighter, or did the 8th level really just light up? No, it's real. The 8th level has been illuminated. A stunned whisper spread through the crowd. 4-star genius. At that moment, the leaders of the Northern Institution could no longer remain seated. They rushed out together, gathering beneath the White Star Tower. Every single one of them waited eagerly for the person inside to emerge. A 4-star genius. What did that signify? Within the chaotic star's majestic empire, the left minister, the right minister, and the 7 great generals were all 4-star geniuses. Those 9 individuals stood at the very pinnacle of this world. They were the pillars that supported the entire empire. Yet now, another person had reached that same level of talent. The crowd's excitement surged even further, because one final question lingered in everyone's hearts. Would the person inside pass the 9th level? Could a 5-star genius, something that existed only in legends, be born here today? Among the crowd, Li Weiwei clenched her teeth. That freak, she muttered. If she hadn't witnessed everything with her own eyes, she would never have believed that arrogant jerk could actually reach the level of a 4-star genius. Just remembering Ling Han's confident expression made her want to smash his face flat. Inside the White Star Tower, the gate to the 9th level slowly opened. A path upward lay before Ling Han. Yet he stopped walking. He stood quietly, deep in thought. Should I go up to the 9th level? He murmured to himself. After a moment, he shook his head. Forget it. I should already have secured first place. There's no need to reveal my full strength. He understood the situation clearly. Now that he had been judged as a 4-star genius, the Academy would undoubtedly pour vast resources into nurturing him. And while 4-star geniuses were rare, they had appeared throughout the Academy's history before. But 5-star geniuses, that was an entirely different matter. If such talent were exposed, it might even attract the attention of the Empire's Empress herself. And once the Empress became interested, investigations would surely follow. After all, how could someone from a mere small world possess such terrifying ability? Ling Han knew that revealing too much could bring unnecessary danger. In truth, if he had not needed to secure first place, he would have preferred to stop after clearing the 7th level. But being only a 3-star genius might not have been enough to suppress Ma Xing. A 4-star rating, however, that would absolutely be sufficient. Having reached this conclusion, Ling Han turned around decisively. Without the slightest hesitation, he walked away from the staircase leading to the 9th level. The legend of the 5-star genius would remain hidden, for now. When Ling Han finally stepped out from the towering gates of the White Star Tower, he immediately sensed that something was wrong. The entire plaza had fallen silent. Hundreds of eyes gathered upon him like blades of light, staring so intensely that even the wind seemed to pause. Ling Han blinked once, then sighed quietly in his heart. It seems passing the 8th level was a little too excessive, he thought to himself with mild regret. Had I known this would attract such a storm of attention, perhaps I should have simply stopped after the 7th level. But regret, of course, was useless now. Before he could even take another step forward, an old figure rushed toward him like a gust of wind. "Child, what is your name?" The old man almost threw himself at Ling Han. His eyes burned with excitement, staring at Ling Han as though the young man standing before him was not a mortal cultivator at all, but some rare celestial beauty descended from the heavens. Ling Han's eyebrow twitched slightly. For a brief moment he had the urge to throw a punch. The old man's face had come far too close enough that it was almost about to stick to his own. But Ling Han forcibly suppressed that impulse. This elder, caught in his excitement, had not even bothered concealing his cultivation aura. Behind him shimmered a terrifying phenomenon. 2 vast celestial images, one of a blazing sun and the other of a luminous moon, revolving slowly in the void. Sun-moon tier. Not merely that, but a cultivator who had already stepped into the minor levels of that terrifying realm. If Ling Han truly punched him now, then before his fist could even complete its arc, he himself would likely be reduced to ashes. So Ling Han calmly stepped backward. Maintaining his composure, he cupped his hands lightly and answered, "Ling Han." Although, if one counted both lifetimes, Ling Han's total age approached 2 centuries. That number meant absolutely nothing before a cultivator of the Sun-Moon tier. Even if his age were multiplied by 100, it still would not match even a fraction of the years the old man had lived. "Ling Han," the old man exclaimed eagerly, "quickly kneel down and perform the rites of a disciple. From this day forward, I will accept you as my disciple." The words had barely finished leaving his mouth. "Get lost!" An explosive roar suddenly erupted. Another old man burst onto the scene like a thunderbolt, crashing straight into the first elder and knocking him flying away. He pointed fiercely and shouted, "This disciple is mine." "Nonsense!" The first old man flipped through the air, regained his footing, and lunged back with fury blazing in his eyes. The two elders instantly began fighting. Their sleeves snapped like battle banners as the two Sun Moon tier cultivators clashed in the middle of the plaza. "Hey!" At that moment, a third old man leisurely walked out. He smiled warmly at Ling Han and stroked his beard as though greeting a treasured grandson. "Kid," he said kindly, "I am Zhang Deman, one of the elders of the Northern Institution currently serving on rotation." He puffed out his chest proudly. "Come and acknowledge me as your master. With me backing you up, you'll be able to beat up whoever you like in the future." Ling Han blinked slowly. Was that really something a master should say? Before Ling Han could even react, "Old man Zhang!" A furious voice rang out again. Another elder appeared, glaring at Zhang Deman as if he had caught him stealing something priceless. "You dare compete with me for a disciple?" "That's right," the earlier two elders shouted as they returned. "Old man Zhang, you're truly shameless, taking advantage of us fighting to snatch away our disciple." The four elders quickly gathered together, each radiating the oppressive aura of the Sun Moon tier. Then, as if they had rehearsed the moment beforehand, the four simultaneously turned toward Ling Han. "Kid, which one of us will you take as your master?" The crowd watching from afar nearly fainted from envy. Four Sun Moon tier elites, all competing to accept the same disciple. This was no small matter. Within the Chaotic Star's majestic empire, although there existed legendary Genesis tier experts, those supreme figures were extremely few in number. They were more like divine pillars meant to intimidate enemies. They rarely took action personally. In truth, the real backbone supporting the empire was formed by cultivators of the Sun Moon tier. They were the ones who governed, fought, and protected the empire's countless territories. Yet now, four such figures were fighting over Ling Han like merchants arguing over priceless treasure. Of course, even within the Sun Moon tier there were divisions. The realm itself contained 4 levels, and these 4 elders standing here were all within the minor levels, the lowest stage within the Sun Moon tier. Still, to ordinary cultivators, they were already terrifying beings. Just as the scene threatened to spiral completely out of control, enough. A calm voice suddenly descended from above. It was not loud. Yet the moment the voice sounded, it seemed to resonate directly within everyone's hearts. Everyone instinctively looked upward. A middle-aged man had appeared in the sky. He floated calmly above the 9-storied White Star Tower, his figure standing quietly at its peak like a mountain overlooking the world. "Stop wasting time," the man said evenly. "Proceed with the admission arrangements for the students." His tone was plain, but the authority behind those words was undeniable. The 4 elders instantly stiffened. Then they hurriedly bowed. "Yes, Lord Deputy Head!" Only now did everyone realize something shocking. This middle-aged man, who appeared younger than the 4 elders, was actually stronger than them. At first glance it seemed unbelievable, but cultivators understood one simple truth. The higher a person's cultivation level, the longer their lifespan became, and the slower they aged. Thus, although he appeared middle-aged, the deputy head might in fact be far older than Zhang Deman and the others. With the deputy head's command issued, the 4 elders no longer dared argue. They quickly began organizing the disciples who had passed the assessment and escorting them toward the student residences of the Northern Institution. However, one group was asked to remain behind: Ling Han, Ma Xing, Cheng Haofei, Ji Yuner, and several others. They were the final top 10, and the top 10 would receive rewards. The rewards for those ranked 4th through 10th were simple. Each would receive a single True Origin Stone. However, the rewards for the top 3 were far more generous. Naturally, there was no debate regarding first place. Ling Han had reached the 8th level of the White Star Tower. That achievement alone placed him beyond dispute. But the rankings for 2nd and 3rd required discussion. Ma Xing, Cheng Haofei, and Ji Yuner had all cleared the first 6 levels of the tower. Furthermore, they had all successfully completed the first 2 stages of the 7th level. So how should their rankings be determined? After the higher-ups of the Northern Institution discussed the matter carefully, They reached a conclusion. Muxing would be ranked second. Cheng Haofei and Ji Yun'er would share third place. Although this meant the institution would have to provide additional resources, the northern institution possessed deep foundations and abundant wealth. Moreover, these three individuals were only in the Shattering Void tier. The resources required to support them were not particularly large. Thus, the decision was finalized. The top three disciples would receive several special privileges. First, they would gain the right to bathe once every month in the Black Jade Pool. Despite its name, the Black Jade Pool was not a place for ordinary bathing. It was a legendary spiritual pool formed naturally by heaven and earth. The waters contained powerful spiritual nourishment capable of tempering both body and soul. After Scarlet Heaven Academy took control of the pool, they had even added numerous rare treasures into it, enhancing its effects even further. However, the pool's benefits only worked on cultivators of the Shattering Void tier and Mountain River tier. For those at higher realms, its power would be meaningless. Otherwise, such a treasure would never have been left within the academy. Even if the Imperial clan had not confiscated it, powerful figures such as the 9 kings, the left and right ministers, and the 7 generals would certainly have taken possession of it. Second, the top 3 would receive 2 True Origin Stones every month. True Origin Stones were unique treasures found within the immortal realm. Because the spiritual chi of heaven and earth here was so dense, it occasionally condensed into crystalline jade-like stones. Within them existed pure condensed energy. Cultivators could extract that energy to assist with cultivation or restore their strength. It was an extremely valuable cultivation resource. Of course, using such stones merely to recover origin power would be an outrageous waste. True origin stones were treasures. They could also be used as currency to purchase rare items, or even exchanged for gold and silver. But any cultivator who did that would be considered an utter fool. Third, each month they would receive additional replenishing spirit pills. Replenishing spirit pills strengthened spiritual power. They were effective for cultivators of the Shattering Void tier and even the immortal level. However, immortal level cultivators were so powerful that the pill's effect on them was extremely small. They usually consumed Star Yang pills instead. The Star Yang pill was vastly more powerful, but its rarity and value were also incomparably greater. Ordinary Academy disciples already received 1 replenishing spirit pill each month, but ranking 3rd would grant an additional pill. 2nd place would receive 2 extra. And 1st place, Ling Han, would receive 3 extra. The True Origin Stones and replenishing spirit pills were distributed immediately. As for entering the Black Jade Pool, that would have to wait until next month. The Academy's 4 institutions shared access to the pool, and the schedule had already been allocated. The Northern Institution had already used its time slot for the current month. After receiving their rewards, Ling Han and the others were escorted toward the residence area where they would live, perhaps for several years, perhaps for 10 years, perhaps even decades. Unless they broke through into the immortal realm, they would remain within this academy. Along the way, Elder Zhang Deman acted as their guide. He explained various rules of the academy. For example, he said, do not wander into the territories of the other 3 institutions without reason. He paused and grinned slightly. Unless you are strong enough. Otherwise, you should be prepared to be beaten senseless. The academy encouraged competition and sparring between students. However, there was one strict rule. High-level students were not allowed to bully lower-level ones, unless the lower-level student had provoked them first. Finally, Zhang Deman mentioned something extremely strange. Oh, right, he added casually. There is also a white cat in the academy. His tone suddenly became serious. No matter what you do, do not provoke that cat. Do not harm even a single hair on its body. If you do, he shook his head slowly, no one in this academy will be able to save you. Everyone froze. They stared at him in disbelief. Why? Someone finally asked.